HiSec Buyback offers a 90% JITA anywhere in HiSec. Simply go to hisec.evebuyback.com, appraise your items, create a contract, and get paid quickly.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Talking Stations for Thursday, December the 2nd. We're just rolling through the year. I am Rundle, Allnighter. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, not really any game news. We're going to just go right into our guest interview here. Former Null Shania Shulpin, I hope I got that right. But our guest tonight is Yabbiy. Go for your introduction, Yabbiy, there. Let us know who you are.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Yabbiy. I have, played essentially for the past decade or so. I started off in wormhole space, and the current iteration of NSH I was a part of when it formed, I guess it was a year and a half ago or more now. I've been in an alliance command position for essentially that entire time. I was one of the first 5 people that when a nurse sounded the call originally, came forward and started off in cache where we originally began. And I've been in leadership ever since. So that's a little bit about me. I ran another alliance that you guys might have heard of called White Squall. For a little bit, it was like a new bro group that was essentially like a feeder into NSH, and was the whole purpose of it was to prop up NSH. We had a couple hundred actual active players at one point too, but we kind of stagnated because of the Delve War. So,
right.
And we ended up just merging into NSH eventually. So.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's a quick little just me, without getting too nitty gritty.
Yeah, exactly right. So for those listeners who are like, who's NSH? What's going on with them? What happened? The super short version is they kind of went kaboom a couple weeks ago. So what we're really going to try and talk about tonight is kind of dig in a little bit more and kind of get a little behind the curtains a little bit more, and just trying to find out, what happens is, kind of what's the pathway when an alliance fails? That's the type of question that I'm into. I like to know, and I think listeners like to know, hey, things are going great, right? I mean, you're an alliance, 2016, 2017, 18, 19, things are going fine, even 2020, 2021. And all of a sudden you wake up one morning and shit, it's all gone. So, that's kind of how, that's the story I think that I want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I would say that it's interesting you framed it in that way. I think the thing about NSH was that this was a group that kind of would pop up for a couple months. We would do a small, it was just a group of friends. We would do a small campaign together. We'd super hunt for a couple months. We'd terrorize people. And then as, we got burnt out, or, we'd, essentially have 2 or 3 or 4 quick back-to-back deployments where we'd be in Providence and then in Aquarius and then just bouncing all over the map. We'd eventually disband, go our separate ways for a couple months, and then come back and do it all over again. This past version, we were okay, this time let's take space, let's make some friends, let's have a place where our guys can rest their heads, but still sort of do the quick deployment, try and be, essentially sort of the boogeyman was what we were going for. But have a place where, instead of just disbanding every, 3 or 4 months, where we can go back and rest, and our guys can, not have to keep moving their shit all the time. So that was the original purpose of this version of NSH. And it was different. We did last, a good little while there. But what I would say that the thing about it all going kaboom in one day is that it doesn't really quite work like that. There are always warning signs, and it's just whether or not you choose to see them. So the thing about any group is that it comes down to whoever is in charge. It comes down to whoever has the keys. They shape however an alliance works. They shape who's in it. They have the final say on everything. So essentially whatever good or bad happens within an organization, it falls on one person ultimately. an FC might lose a fleet or make a bad decision or something like that, but the people in the organization, the other people that you put in place, the decisions that you make about where you're going and who you align yourself with, it all comes down to that main person that's in charge. And that person for NSH was a NER. the thing about that was that, Anur has a lot going on, and it was, was a great leader for the amount of time that we had him. But Anur could also be very sporadic sometimes. I remember there was one time I went on vacation. I went up to Atlanta, and this was like after all the pandemic stuff, so I like really needed a break. And it was like in the middle of the summer, and this is one of many examples of like I was in the middle of that vacation and I get a text from him, and it's like, I'm quitting. I can't do this. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm going to remove myself from Discord and blah, 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 and I need a break. And whenever that would happen, and this happened a couple times, I would say, it's usually for a couple days, maybe a week and a half. He takes a break, rests a little bit, and then comes back, and it's not usually a big thing, and we can kind of like, take over for a little bit, give him a break, and it just kind of became normal. I guess this last time, it felt a little bit different this last time that it happened, because a couple weeks leading up to, the big boom, as you call it, the essential, destruction of the place was that he was like, hey, I think I'm going to take like an extended break this time. And we kind of talked a little bit, and I could tell that it was different. And I was like, okay, like, I got it. Like, we'll hold the place down. We put some other people in Alliance Command, and I was basically like shoring everything up and working with everybody, and everything like that. And he transferred, the Discord server to me, and I had access to all of our services and all that sort of stuff. So essentially where it all went wrong, though, is that I guess, what I think happened is that I think that he made decisions over the course of the year and a half that were good for the organization that he didn't necessarily agree with. I think there are certain people that he accepted. We got to a certain size, and we couldn't really do, I think, the things that he liked or that he wanted to do. I think he very much wanted us to be like a snuffed out sort of entity, but in nullsec, which is a lot harder to do, because of SOV and how null blocks work and everything like that. And I think it just got out of control for him, and I think he was just done with it and kind of tired of it. And essentially what happened is that, again, I sort of shored everything up, took control of everything, and we were good, but he still had CEO of the exec corp. And I wasn't really pushing it because I know the sporadicness of how things can be, and I was trying to, like, he did run the place for a year and a half, and he was trying to, transfer everything over nice and slowly, so I wasn't really pushing it too hard. The thing about it now is, like, I look back and it's like, I don't know if that would have saved anything anyway, because essentially the series of events is I had some personal stuff come up, and I told the other Alliance commanders that I was going to take 2 weeks, is like I needed to, there's a whole bunch of, I'm not going to get into it, but a whole bunch of real life stuff that I needed to attend to. And then about 3 days into that break, Anur, who's now in Snuff, and took Wally with him and a couple other people, they hit one of our Astra houses in Lowsec. We were gearing up to do some other stuff, and we had some other plans, and it was getting close to Thanksgiving and all this sort of thing. And we weren't really interested in fighting high-grade slaved TFIs in Lowsec when dread prices are 10 bill, when we had other stuff that we were more focused on. So Pittsburgh decided that he would just take some ECM burst Griffins and just be annoying and just heckle them a little bit. It's funny enough, that same morning I had messaged Anur, and I was like, hey, I get it, like, you're taking a longer sort of break. Can I get, CEO of the exec corp? Could we just finalize the transfer and everything like that? And he had said to me, yeah, sure. As soon as I log in later, no big deal. We'll talk about it. He was linking me TikToks. We were joking around. We were having fun. It was just like any other sort of day. He was telling me about his life, and I was telling him about mine. It's pretty normal. Apparently the Griffin thing, I think it exacerbated all the things that Anur, maybe some of the reasons that he left. It was like, if it was up to Anur, if anyone hits anything of ours, it's like full guns a-blazing, supers and titans on the Astor house, go all out. And, I was away, and we just weren't interested. So he took that very personally, and you can watch the snuffed out YouTube video too for it, because they have it all recorded, how that whole series of things goes down. It makes me a little sick to watch it, though. I watched like the first 30 seconds of it, and I had to turn it off. It hits a little too hard, because this is sort of a place that we'd built together for a year and a half, and he just I got like in the middle of my break, got a bunch of texts from people that was like, the Keepstar just got transferred. Like, you need to get on right now. Like, you need to see what's going on. And I log in, and all of our roles for everything have been removed. And I remember sitting in the Keepstar, and I was like, okay, he just transferred some stuff. We can probably get it back. Maybe he's just messing around before he gives me control of everything or something. And then I message him, and he doesn't message me back. And then as I'm logged in, I see the clone bay destroyed. And I was like, oh, no, this is real. Like, we're fucked.
Ouch, ouch, ouch.
And yeah, so I mean, you have two options at that point. You either, it's like you said before the show when we were talking before, it's like you sail, or you get the fuck off the boat. So I made the decision right then and there that my break was over, and I stayed up. For the next 6 hours, I was contacting all of the CEOs in NSH, and I was consolidating everyone and everything, and messaging Norris and other allies and old mentors that I have that don't play the game anymore, and basically just telling everyone it was going to be okay and that we were going to figure it out. I went to bed at 4 that morning, and I had to get up at 9. So that was that's not too bad. Get like 5 hours there, but that was not a fun like 72 hours from that event. I basically spent 3 days just on Discord, just talking to people and getting everything back together. I remember when I woke up that first morning, I had 89 missed Discord messages, and I had so many private chats up on the left side of my Discord that it took me like a half hour just to get through them. It was a fun 72 hours, to say the least.
Yeah, I think that, and this is, I'm just going to jump in here.
Yeah.
This is to me, this is one of the unique things of EVE, right? Take many other games. I'm not going to say it's exclusive, but majority of other games, some sort of shit like this happens. You just kind of, whatever, your stuff's safe. All your gear is with you everywhere all the time. And, there's not a lot of shared stuff, and your personality is you, not necessarily, your guild or your corp or your alliance or whatever your thing is called in your game. EVE has this very unique element to it. When shit like this happens so quickly, the ripple effect truly impacts people. Like you just said, like, I had to spend a shit ton of time just managing it, and you weren't alone. I'm sure you weren't, right?
No. So that was the thing. When I took over, there were some good things there were some good ideas that we had along the way with NSH that I'm keeping. So with Elysians, there are actually 6 other people in Alliance Command with me right now. And it works very well because the way that I work and the way that I've always led is that I like to enable people. So I have Pittsburgh in there. I have Wheeler in there who's doing stuff. I have Tridget back, who actually left because of Anur. He was having a lot of conflict with Anur, so he actually had stepped down from Alliance Command. Chuck had actually stepped down from Alliance Command too. So it's pretty cool now. Like I have the leader of Dogfort, Apache, is in there now too, and Loith from Sinners, and there's a whole host of great people here that is essentially my job to steer the ship in the right direction and enable them to do the things that they love doing in the game. And so far it's working exceptionally well. I mean, we have this very interesting like hodgepodge sort of group now where it's like we have old goons in the Dogfort guys. We have basically the NA time zone of Northern Coalition, right? We have Sinners and Criterion too, like some big name corps, and then we have Iron Armada, who is now or now I guess they're just Iron because the Alliance is no more and they're merged into us. But I mean they've had a whole reckoning and a whole resurgence since everything went down. And that was really the cool thing about it too, was I was really excited and proud to see how many people like rallied around and sort of made sort of came back for this. We sort of, if you've ever started a new group, it's always very exciting, and there's always a lot of hope and a lot of like initial things that are ready to go. Right. And we sort of have all of that, but we have a lot of all the groundwork's done already. Like we have all of our contacts. We've reached out to everybody. We live in MTACO. We live in like the greatest fucking space. like that you could ask for. Like we're within jump range of Jitta, like we have great agreements and we're very happy with where we are. And there's all of the buzz. So it's like all of the things that you get from being an older group, but you have all the buzz of a new alliance. Like I won't give out exact numbers, but let's just say that my initial alliance meeting that I had, the day after everything went down, there was more people on Mumble than I've ever seen us pull on Mumble, and that I've even seen some much larger alliances pull on Mumble for different events. That we had an absolute buttload of people on Mumble. So
well, Dotland says you got 13 corporations with about 1,200 people, right? So the kind of rule of thumb is a 5-to-1 alt to characters. That's 2 accounts. So if you kind of do some rough math, it means, you don't have to confirm this, but my experience says you have about 200 to 250 pilots, somewhere around there, right?
Yeah,
and so
I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
So if you had if you went from where you were to there all of a sudden, and you even get half of those people, you're going to have, on that day, you're going to have 125 people in Mumble or Discord or wherever you're talking. It's a pretty sizable group of people. You can do a lot of things in Eve with 125 pilots.
Especially when most of those pilots have Titans, and almost all of them have Dread Alts, and yeah, there's a lot to be done with that amount of people. So
right.
Absolutely.
So we're going to, apparently Nick and I are going to have it out later on what the ratio is, 3-to-1 or 4-to-1. I'm going to tell you in nullsec it's 5-to-1, Nick, but that's, you have to just trust me on that one. So let's just back up a little bit on the work and on all that effort. At somewhere, I'm sure you guys are doing an accounting of what got lost. Are there some reality numbers you could give me? Like, what did you guys lose?
Oh, absolutely. So, I would say just with the destruction of the implant bay. Oh man, I mean, I got estimates from just some individual corps, and I would just ballpark and say that's easily. If it's anything less than 500 bill, I would be shocked. It's probably closer to $1 trillion. And then a NER, the amount. I mean, we had stuff in the exec corp hangar, the alliance wallet, like all that sort of stuff. I would say he probably made off with maybe like 350, 400 bill, something like that, in total assets that he stole and was able to sell off. He even sold the NSH name too. So, I mean, that man would just burn every bridge. He was just like, fuck everyone, fuck all this, I'm done. So, hopefully, if Snuff ever disbands, that man's done for. So, yeah. So, yeah, it was a pretty decent butcher's bill. I mean, there's definitely been bigger heists in the game, and that was the other thing too about it that was so strange. It was just like he built the place, like it was all kind of, it was in a lot of ways like it was the stuff we built together, but a lot of that was like kind of his, it was his to, they were his bridges to burn. So it's more than anything like I wasn't, it's weird. I was never even like overly upset. I was just kind of disappointed. And I hear that sentiment from a lot of us that were the most close with him. It was just like why, like why'd you have to do this to us? So just disappointment, really.
Yeah, I think somewhere in the background, a few people have tried on our side. I don't, but I would love to just hear his side. This is just me in case he's listening. I would love to hear on your side, like what is on Enner's side, like, why do you wake up in the morning and just light the
I can offer tons of insight into that. Sure. I mean, I've known the man for 7 years. Hell yeah. So I'm so glad you asked that. So the thing about Enner was that like there was always this thing of like it's just a video game. Like don't white knuckle, don't be a bitch, like go for it and just do the thing and have fun. And that can be great. That can be awesome sometimes. And then it can be not so great, like right now, or like when there were times where we had to stop him from like I remember like there were sometimes like I remember our deployment to Providence. It was like we were all like, this is probably not a good idea. Like this is like too soon. Our members need more time. We're going to waste a fuck ton of fuel. There has to be a better way we can do this. And it was like, no, we're deploying every dread that we have, full fucking move op, full send. And there were some people, especially like Tridget, had to sort of salvage that campaign there. And then right after that, moving into another thing. And, you know, sometimes it's right and sometimes it works out. And then other times it's like your members are just exhausted. But I'm getting a little off topic. I guess the thing about, you know, why with the Nur is that he just doesn't care. He just straight up doesn't care. And he even said it himself, was just like, you know, everyone that thought that he was their friend, they were not. You know, he just didn't care about
just
anybody.
Time to move on. Time.
Yeah.
The way
it
I
was just
took
time
it
to
was
move on. So
the way I took it is it's just time to do something I haven't done before, right? It's just time for a new experience, and you know, pressing the self-destruct button is something I haven't done before. So hey, guess what? Don't care. So press the self-destruct button. New experience for me. Man, that was fun, or wasn't fun, or whatever his end result was, right?
yeah, and I mean, I would say he probably enjoyed his time, and I think while he was here, he was being genuine. But I would definitely say that he didn't actually care about anybody here, and I think if you asked him, he'd say the same thing. So
right. So what about so just back still on the losses sort of side? What's the human capital been? And I mean, what I mean by that is how many real people did just said, "Ah, fuck it, I'm out. I'm not going to Elysians." Like, what was the loss? Like X number of people?
none.
Really none.
Yeah. No, that's what I meant. It was so crazy. It was just like I thought we would too. I thought there would be people that were sort of done with it. We were able to cover asset safety costs, which are basically nothing if it's keep star to keep star like that in the same system. There were a lot of good decisions that we made very early on. There were some very smart people like Apache and Loyth and Tridget, and there were lots of great decisions that were made very early on that I was advised, like do this, do that, you know, that sort of thing, which is what you get when you have such a deep Alliance command bench. You're able to get some great input.
Right.
So we retained a lot. I mean, we lost one corp X meta, but that was something that I made that decision. I don't want to micromanage corps, and I want my corp leadership to be active and making decisions for their individual corps. And
okay, so it wasn't a loss because of the collapse. It was no,
I'm starting a new alliance, and this is who I want to bring with
me. Time to clean house a little bit there.
Yep.
So Deadbolt made a really interesting point in the chat, is that ironically more people came back. What have you gained? What have you gained?
I got Tridget back. Chuck's been playing again. There were some people in Dogfort that I've been talking to that were not happy with decisions Nur made. They've been thinking about playing again, and they're sort of poking around and seeing what Eve is like and things like that. I mean, these are some big ticket names. Like I would say, even Bob. He was out of the FC chat. If anyone knows Brother Bob, he's back. He's in the FC court again. So there's a pretty big surge right now. I guess you guys will get a pretty good estimate of actual numbers tonight, because that Rote Fort is going into Hull. So you'll get a good idea of what Elysians can pull out when that comes.
So NSH was, you know, kind of blops and wasn't well known, at least my perspective, wasn't well known for, you know, big cat fleets and stuff. So Elysians, let's just kind of transition a little bit to Elysians for the moment. Change of gameplay, same style. Like what's the transition mean for the members, for you, for Elysians?
Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing was I think with NSH we very much liked our caps. We wanted to use our supers and titans and all that sort of stuff. I think the thing with Elysians is that we're not going to shoehorn ourselves into any one style of anything. I think we're going to follow the meta and do whatever is best. And we're going to do it well, and with you know, sort of, we're going to try and be surgical with the decisions that we make and the time that we spend playing the game. So I made the identity really is like, we're going to follow the good content. We're going to follow, you know, whatever that leads. And CCP are making their own sort of host of decisions right now, and we're riding that wave.
Right.
So we're just going to see where that takes us. I guess another really cool thing about that too was that there were a lot of grudges that Nur had, specifically with a lot of groups. And what I would say is that I don't hold those same grudges. So there were a lot of people that we reached out to. And I think it leaves us with a lot of opportunities for the future, because we're kind of it's once again, we're sort of the question mark. Like, anyone could be our friends if they happen to reach out to us and have some good opportunities for us. So
right.
That's something else too, which is really, really cool.
So, you made a comment that NSH, did like your capitals and stuff, but
Absolutely.
a couple of people in chat had the same experience that I did. So I'm going to just ask maybe a dickish question. When you say you loved your capital ships, were you just ratting in them? Because I don't think you really did cap fleets or cap fights, right? Or am I just missing something? What am I missing?
Yeah, so it's the game changes, man. It's just like no one's using them. Like, you've got there's the big scale where you have like Snuff having to take on Frat to get a dread fight. Like that's basically what it's down to, because the only people that can afford it these past couple months are the massive coalitions. And I mean, I hear through some contacts too that a lot of even the big coalitions are like, hey man, like that shit's expensive right now.
Yeah.
People can't afford to whelp. I mean, the math right now is like, 40 dreads is a Titan. And Titans are like, right now the Titan build cost is like 300 bill and dreads are 10. So it's just a matter of cost. Like, that's when NSH really thrived, was like, I mean, there's one time where we bought, 50 dreads from Imperium for 800 mil a pop or something like that. And then we would just throw them around. But when you have to be strategic with them and you only have so few people,
right.
it's really, really hard to do that. And I mean, a lot of that too was one of the things that Anur said when he was leaving was like, you guys shouldn't have inactive leadership. And towards the end there, he definitely was like pretty jaded about a lot of the changes and just wasn't so much feeling a lot of the stuff at that point.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what happened.
Yeah, so you're really talking last 6 months or so since the industry changes. You've really dropped off, and my perception was even longer before that, right? But I'm just obviously wrong. So because it sounds like you guys really were using them, say 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But yeah, anyways,
Yeah.
not a big deal. It's really more.
No, absolutely. I mean, like, and we would love to do that. I remember even when we dunked Sedao in that one. In Amamaki. It was the Amamaki one where we dunked Sedao's Titans.
Yeah.
All of NSH was in dreads. It was just only dreads in fleet. And we just dropped them right into the middle of that whole clusterfuck. So
who doesn't like dunking Sedao? I mean, come on, that's like should be a Eve subsport, but I digress.
That's true. I mean, I heard that guy, had fallen out with RC and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know what friends he's got left.
That's a whole nother show.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
So you guys got a bunch of space now. So what should just you're looking for blues, you're looking for fights. Come on, try to roll our space. Like what would you want people to come? How do you want them to come say hello to you guys? In what way?
I'd like it all. I'd like it all. If for whatever reason you have some issue with the people here or something, then come after us by all means. And if not, if you think you got some timers somewhere, you might need some help doing something, or you got something brewing, reach out to, any of the Alliance Command. And I'm sure Tridget, Brother Bob, Apache, Loith, Pitts, any of those guys would love to hear you out and see what's going on. Cause we're just looking to have a good time. We're going to hang out where we live, and we're going to explore, and we're going to see whatever the future holds for us.
Right.
So come one, come all in all forms.
Well, there you go. That's awesome. I know I did a little research. I was looking at one of the old NSH recruitment posts. Was the requirement was you had to have an IQ above 70, which a bit of a stretch for Eve players, but hopefully you'll drop that requirement and take everyone.
I mean, absolutely.
You guys are recruiting, right?
Oh, we absolutely are recruiting. Yeah, especially corps. That's sort of my model that I really enjoy. Is I like good corp leadership that is active, that they have their little base of people that they like doing stuff with, and then we come together for the big stuff, right? We align together on something. So I mean, Like even Criterion, as an example, they like to they have a lot of low-sec stuff that they like to do, but they live out of MO and they're close by, and then they come and they help, and whenever there's fleets or anything else, they're back and they're helping out and doing that sort of stuff. But they have their own culture, like within their corp. They're not separate, like they still hang out with us and everything, but they're within the group, and that's a model I really enjoy. So especially if you're one of those smaller groups, but you want to get some of the benefits of being with a larger group, but those are definitely sort of the corps that we're looking for.
Right.
Anything like that is absolutely great. We're definitely recruiting. I would love for us to get to be a bigger size. Absolutely.
So so looking at your kill board, obviously things are just ramping up. A lot of the M deck O fights or gate camps clearly, and just kind of fucking around in that space. But is there maybe this is OPSEC, but any campaigns on your mind, or are you just kind of right now still in that early honeymoon rebuild phase? Kind of what's...
Yeah, so I mean, basically we had 2 weeks basically now where we've been rebuilding everything, and in that time, it's just been a mad dash of everybody trying to get everything back up and running from a leadership size. Because I mean, we had to rebuild all of our services. We had to get everyone reauth to Mumble, Discord, the whole 9 yards. So it's been a huge amount of admin work. But the FCs like Rudd, especially, I know, who's one of our FCs and the leader of Rebecca. He's got a lot of good stuff planned right now, and he'll actually be leading the thing tonight. So we're right at that point where Thanksgiving is over, everything's back up and running, and I would say things are going to start kicking up pretty sizably here.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, you scroll up a little bit, and it's like 180 active Z kill after everyone losing every pod that they own, basically.
Yeah.
And having to move all of their stuff into a new Keepstar and asset safetying most of our Super and Titan fleet too. I'm pretty happy with it as of right now, without there having been any big gigapings, KTA, whatever you want to call them. We call ours gigapings because my members think CTA is cringe, so I just call it something silly and go on.
Why not?
Yeah.
Well, you got some. You're clearly doing something in your space. There's a couple production and mining, citadels down. There's a fort that was down.
Oh, basically all our infrastructure is back up. Everything, basically, it's all back up. There's still some POCOs we got to clear out, I think.
So you guys have been killing stuff, though. You guys are doing something, right? So, and then you got another one happening tonight, right? So
yep, everything's pretty much reclaimed, and then we got a rote Fortizar timer in Pochfin that will be going to tonight. So
yeah. So what's happening in Pochfin? Why would you even bother going to Pochfin?
Why would you even bother going to Pochfin? Yeah, I got to think about that for a second. The thing about Pochfin, okay, is I'm gonna do what my advisors have told me to say and say that Pochfin is shit, don't go there. But also CCP, don't touch it at all, please. If you look at like ISK destroyed in Pochfin, there's an insane amount that is dying in that space, and it's been ramping up even more. I think Pochfin's a good place for PvP and combat and things like that. So I don't think that CCP should touch it at all. Actually, I think if they do, I think it'll make a lot of people very sad, which they've been doing a lot of recently, and they should stop doing. So those are just some of my thoughts, I guess. But Pochfin can be some fun PvP wise. And I need to hold my tongue on some other stuff on that. So that's as much as you're going to get out of me on that one.
Oh, come on.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
Damn it. Well, we've done a few shows on Pochfin. I specifically have done one, about the sites there and the kind of imbalance of the ISK, and everyone's like, oh no, it brings good content. Don't look at that. Look at the PvP content. And I do know, and I will admit and that a lot of the PvP that happens is people who don't live there. So living there is a bit tough. you're proving my point. You're traveling there tonight to do some shit and get the fuck out, right?
Yep, pretty much. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Sorry, not getting more out of me on that one. Well, I guess one last thing that I will say is like, I have examples for members, right? Because one of the things that gets brought up so much is the ISK thing.
Right.
But what I'll say is that we have this sort of saying with Pochfin that it's a cruel mistress and it giveth and it taketh away. Like there are times when, like, you know, the site, for example, that dread will sometimes just get a wrecking blow, and we run it in Ikaturses. And every once in a while in a site, boom, we just lose an Ikatursa. Like, because it just, that 0.01% chance for a wrecking blow just happens. So, like, I've literally sometimes, you know, been in the site and just lost a billion ISK ship, just gone. And there are these crazy gate rats. There's people camping everywhere. There's some pretty big fleets out that'll dunk you if you're not paying attention. I would say that the place is incredibly dangerous. It's a lot like wormhole space in that regard. So I mean, it's the same thing as wormholes, right? You can make some pretty decent money, but no one controls Pochfin. It's constantly being fought over, and I would say it balances itself out because, I mean, when I'm losing a billion ISK ship or I get caught in a bubble or one of my members dies on just trying to get into it, right, getting into the space, with expensive ships too, it ends up being pretty balanced, I would say.
All right, fair enough.
We're definitely not just like squirreling money away, is what I'll say. We're not. I promise you. Like,
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
All right, I won't prod any further. So,
sure.
Okay, so, geez, where else do I go? I had another question earlier on, and I do not remember what the F it was. Price of getting old, I guess. It was an NSH. It was really an NSH-based question, if I remember. Anyways, I'll remember it probably after we're done with the interview. Anything else you want to kind of talk about in terms of kind of the history, or maybe, you know, you posted this as, you know, maybe a sidebar, but okay, what have you learned? Let me ask it this way, though. What have you learned in terms of running a large alliance? And there's a lot of people listening who have never done it. They think they know what it would be like. So you know, even if it's not you fully running everything from before and after, you certainly are in the middle of the shitstorm. So what did you learn? What did you learn that maybe you didn't know about Eve or running large groups of Eve in the last month?
Yeah, I would say that I think the thing that stands out the most is just how much it equates to, you know, and this sounds kind of cheesy, I guess, but just how much it equates to running some sort of business in real life too. It takes so much of your time. You can also completely create it to be however you want, but you're also beholden to everyone in it, right? Like, no one gets paid to be here, so I have to somehow motivate everyone to be here. Things have to be fun and exciting, and we have to actually make it like that. We have to do cool things. Like, I can, you know, talk about it all day, but if it's not actually fun, then, you know, we're not going to get the people. So it's kind of this balance of like, and it depends on the mindset that your leader has for it too. Like, I've had leaders before, and I'm sure we all have, where they very much are in for their own best interests, or, you know, they have a, you know, sometimes people have a vision that maybe that takes a lot from its members. So you really got to find somewhere where you're building something together, I would say. And I think that that's a place that I'm trying to create. And it just really all comes down to leadership. I mean, that's the biggest takeaway, is like, you know, and I was a little nervous coming on here too, because it's like, whatever I say, everyone remembers. Whatever thing, you know, all that stuff, it gets taken and spun or said over and over and over again. It's just very difficult. And there's a reason that I run it in sort of the way that I do, I guess, where there's so many people that do so much for the group, and I involve them. That's one thing. Like, I see a lot of groups like where there's just one guy in charge, and, you know, he's sort of like, he dictates everything, and he makes all the decisions for everything. And that's one way to do it, where you don't really have to deal with people so much. And the way that I do it is, I would honestly say, a lot harder, because there's a lot of interests from everybody here that I sort of have to balance. But then at the end of the day, I have to be able to say, no, like, we're doing it this way, and balancing, okay, maybe this person's upset about this, or maybe that person wants to do this or that, or balancing all of, what everybody wants. That's the really difficult thing. It's the human aspect of it that's both so interesting and so difficult.
The human cat herder situation, right? So everyone wants to go in their own ways in a way. So the key is to align them, give a broad alignment, but you're all more or less going in the same direction. And I remembered my question. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So predictions for NSH, right? It's not gone. It's still there. There's 4 whole people. There's the holding corp, and then 3 others in a little side corp, right? So
I heard.
You think it's going to rise from the ashes again, or just
no? I heard he sold the name to the Russians straight up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dank Leaks. I heard he sold it to the Russians. Because it's changed hands, I'm pretty sure. So that's either just not true and it was just memes, or he actually did, and you'll see LSH use the name or something like that. So
right.
And NSH is dead. That alliance is no more. And I mean, he burnt every bridge with every person that was ever in it, pretty much. So that one's done and over with.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask that, is because normally when something like this happens, it's totally gone, right? There's not even just a person, a holding corp, like delete, shut it down. It's all gone. Is often the path, right? Because they don't want anything to come back. They really want to see it burnt completely to the ground. No, in this case, there's like a few little blades of grass that didn't get touched, and so sometimes that can grow into a whole forest, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say there's like 3 people left in that forest, and they're all in snuff. So. I mean, that shit is, I can't emphasize enough, that shit is fucking burnt. So
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, so
all right, well, I think we covered a lot of ground in 45 minutes or so.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I appreciate you coming on. Is there I guess you want to do a final recruiting pitch to anyone listening or down?
I had a little thing for the end. So huge shout out to Norris and our fraternity brothers. I can't thank you guys enough for backing us up when you guys did. I seriously can't thank you guys enough for that. And hopefully we'll be able to do some good things for you here in the future. And a huge shout out to everyone in Elysians, Rudd, Tridget, Mapache, Chuck. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. I know I missed like a ton of names that I should say there, and so don't be too mad at me. Tridget, Bob, all you guys. Yeah. It's an organization run by the people inside of it, and I just
Yabbiy doesn't
holding
care
it together.
You. It's just because Yabbiy doesn't care about you.
That's it. You heard it here.
See, that's what you're gonna. That's gonna be your payback part there. That's gonna be the part that's gonna bite you. Yabbiy doesn't care about us. He couldn't even remember my fucking name.
That's right. It's just it's the pressure of the air. Let's say that being on air or whatever.
Yeah, I had to give you a bit of a hard time.
No, I know. I appreciate it, but thank you so much, seriously, to everyone in Elysians. And
sounds like I said before, stronger. Honestly,
we definitely did. I mean, we were. I won't say that we were like dying before this, but we were stagnating a little bit, and this was the revitalization that, like as a leader that sort of inherited a lot of stuff and then had to make it his own. I couldn't be. In the situation we were put in, I couldn't be happier with where we are, I guess, is what I'll say. We're kicking right now. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're listening to this podcast later on down the road, and you're like, hey, I want those guys sound fun. Go look for Elysians, search out Yabbiy or any of the other people he's mentioned, and track them down. And if you like them, go join them and see what they're doing.
And if you're a sick pilot, Ryba's recruiting. So
there you go.
Yeah, my director is messaging me like frantically telling me to say that for some reason. So as if we'll see. I don't know who we get accepted into Ryba at this point, because I'm pretty territorial of my corp, but you're welcome to apply. But definitely apply to the groups in Elysians. I'm a little too busy to do like corp stuff, but let me tell you, like Sinners, Criterion, Rebecca, Dogfort, Sober, Know Nothings, like Iron, like these are some fantastic corps with some real depth. So if you're out there looking for a corp, hit our boys up.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Yabbiy, thank you very much. We're going to wrap up the show here before we go. Just want to give another personal shout out to my buddy Jade Cougar, who's again going strong with the Lost in Eve podcast. LostInEvePodcast.podbean.com. Go listen to his stuff. He's very entertaining. We used to do that slightly popular show, almost 10 years ago. That's how I got started in all this, but he's back doing it again.
I completely forgot. I didn't tell you how I came up with the name.
Oh, how'd you come up with the name?
The name. So I love like Greek mythology stuff.
Yeah.
And we were actually playing around when someone said Till Valhalla, and I really liked it, but it was too like, I don't know. There was something about it that I couldn't quite get behind. And then, because the thing about it is that we have these older groups, right? And I was like, we have these older groups with older pilots. It's kind of like a lot of warriors from all over space, right? And I was like, what's a good like place for them? And then I thought of Elysium. I thought of like, the Greek, like where warriors go, like the great warriors go when they're done with their time. So I thought of that. I was like, oh, we're like the Elysians, we're the warriors. It's a little cheesy, but that's just sort of how I am, and I got to pick the name, so that's what I went with. We're all sort of the
fun story.
Yeah, all the boys from all over that have sort of gathered in one spot, from all yeah.
Nice.
So I like it.
All right.
A little cheesy for some of them. They're a little cheesy for some of them, but
the comments in the chat are actually quite funny. Valmir, perfectly. Bold of you to assume you were blessed by the gods. I was thinking along the same lines, right? Like ballsy that you were like picking. You guys get to pick that name and that place in the in the halls of Eve. But anyways, kind of funny. So
well, just apply, and there you go. You're good to go. It's a place you can apply to. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, you can. You feel you are blessed by the gods and a warrior beyond, beyond all others.
Exactly.
Then you know where to go find these guys, and
there you go.
Hang out and pay tribute to Yabbiy and all those other fun things. So.
Yep, exactly. See, there you go.
Excellent. All right, guys. Thank you very much. So we'll wrap it up here. Appreciate you guys spending your time with us tonight. You guys, everyone, fly safe.
Thank you.